Today there is another stream where I am going to be reading a book which is actually based upon management consulting topic. So this book is just the random book that I found on the internet. It's in PDF format, and I hope the book is pretty much visible to you guys. And here is this thing. I would like to give you the name of the author first of all. It's this book, Management Consulting, a guide to the profession, fourth edition by Geneva. It's the main author of this book is it's I guess it's actually edited by Milan Kubra, but it's written by some kind of organization. So we are heading straight. This is the a long contents of this chapter. It's into this book is actually 927 pages long, and we are going to be heading to the first chapter which we are starting, which is basically detailing about what is management consulting. So what is consulting? So there are many definitions of consulting and of its application to problems and challenges faced by management, that is of management consulting. Setting aside stylistic and semantic differences, two basic approaches to consulting emerge. The first approach takes a broad functional view of consulting. Fritz Steele defines consulting in this way: any form of providing help on the content, process, or structure of a task or series of tasks where the consultant is not actually responsible for doing the task itself, but is helping those who are. Peter Block suggests that you are consulting anytime you are trying to change or improve a situation but have no direct control over the implementation. Most people in staff roles in organizations are really consultants, even if they don't officially call themselves consultants. These and similar differences emphasize that consultants are helpers or enablers and assume that such help can be provided by people in various positions. Thus, a manager can also act as a consultant if he or she gives advice and people to a fellow manager or even to subordinates rather than directing and issuing orders to them. The second approach views consulting as a special professional service and emphasizes a number of characteristics that such a service must possess. According to Larry Greiner and Robert Metzger, management consulting is an advisory service contracted for and provided to organizations by specially trained and qualified persons who assist in an objective and independent manner the client organization to identify management problems, analyze such problems, recommend solutions to these problems, and help, when requested, in the implementation of solutions. Similar, more or less detailed definitions are used by other authors and by professional associations and institutes of management consultants. According to the International Council of Management Consulting, for example, management consulting is the provision of independent advice and assistance about the process of management to clients with management responsibilities. We regard the two approaches as complementary rather than conflicting. Management consulting can be viewed either as a professional service or as a method of providing practical advice and help. There is no doubt that management consulting has developed into a specific sector of professional activity and should be treated as such. At the same time, it is also a method of assisting organizations and executives to improve management and business practices, as well as individual and organizational performance. The method can be and is applied not only by full-time consultants, but also by many other technically competent persons whose main profession whose main occupation may be teaching, training, research, systems development, project development, and evaluation, technical assistance to developing countries, and so on. To be effective, these people need to master consulting tools and skills and to observe the fundamental behavioral rules of professional consulting. In our book, we have chosen to address the needs of both these target populations. Although it has been written primarily about and for professional management consultants, the needs of other people who intervene in a consulting capacity, even though they are not full-time consultants, are borne in mind. We start by reviewing the basic characteristics of management consulting. The key question is, what principles and approaches allow consulting to be a professional service that provides add value to clients? Adding value by transferring knowledge. Whether practiced as a full-time occupation or as an ad hoc service, management consulting can be described as transferring to clients knowledge required for managing and operating businesses and other organizations. To provide added value to clients, this knowledge must help the clients to be more effective in running and developing their business, public administration agency, or other non-profit organization. Thus, the quintessential nature of consulting is to create, transfer, share, and apply management and business knowledge. What is unique to management is that from the very beginning, the consultant played a key role in the development of the practice, the knowledge, and the profession of management, wrote Peter Drucker. The term knowledge, as used here and in most of the literature on knowledge management, encompasses experience, expertise, skills, know-how, and competences in addition to the theoretical knowledge. This knowledge transfer is concerned not only with the knowledge and understanding of facts and realities, but also with approaches, methods, and capabilities required for the effective application of knowledge in particular economic, business, institutional, cultural, administrative, or organizational environments. Management consultants can assume their roles in knowledge transfer because they have accumulated through study and practical experience considerable knowledge of effective ways of acting in various management situations. They have learned how to discern general trends and understand changes in the environment, identify common causes of problems with a good chance of finding appropriate solutions, and see and seize new opportunities. Clearly, management consultants cannot acquire such capabilities by theoretical study only, although this continues to be an essential source of new knowledge during their whole career. They learn from experience of their colleagues and from the consulting firm's accumulated know-how. However, experience and know-how concerning management and business practices come mainly from working with clients. Every consultant knows that his clients and his teachers, and he lives off their knowledge. The consultant does not know more, but he has seen more. This knowledge transfer is a two-way process in enhancing their clients' knowledge and capacity to act effectively. The consultants learn from them and enhance their clients' knowledge and capacity to act effectively. The consultants learn from them and enhance their knowledge and capacity to advise their clients, current and future, more effectively in new situations and on new issues. The fields of knowledge embraced by management consulting relate to two critical dimensions of client organizations. The technical dimension, which concerns the nature of the management of business processes and problems faced by the client and the way in which these problems can be analyzed and resolved. The human dimension, that is, interpersonal relationships in the client organization, people's feelings about the problem at hand, and their interest in improving the current situation. The interpersonal relationship between the consultant and the client. For methodological reasons, our guide will often deal separately with these two dimensions. In real life, they're not separated. Technical and human issues of management and business are always interwoven. In consulting, it is essential to be aware of these two sides of problems in organizations. But mere awareness is not enough. Ideally, the consultant should choose approaches and methods that uncover and help understand both the technical and the human issues involved, and that help the client to act on both of them. In practice, however, many consultants tend to be concerned more with one or the other dimension of client organizations. It is even possible to discern two types of consulting. The first type is predominantly technical. Its protagonists are technicians competent in providing advice on business processes, strategy, structures, systems, technology, resource allocation and utilization, and similar tangible, quantifiable, and measurable issues in areas such as production, finance, and accounting. The consultants' knowledge backgrounds may be in technology, industrial engineering, computer science, statistics, mathematics, operations, research, business economics, accounting, or other areas. Such consultants tend to treat the client's problems as mainly technical and systems problems. Example, the client needs a better cost control system, better information on customers' requirements and complaints, a stable network of reliable subcontractors, a strategy for the next 5 years, or a feasibility study for a merger. On giving and receiving, every man, however wise, needs the advice of some sagacious friend in the affairs of life. Plotus. To accept good advice is but to increase one's own ability. Goethe. When you receive advice, few profit by it. Publius Cyrus. To profit from good advice requires more wisdom than to give it. John Collins. Men give away nothing so liberally as their advice. Le Roquefoucauld. Never give advice in a crowd. Arabian proverb. We give advice by the bucket, but take it by the grain. William Alger. Do not have the conceit to offer your advice to people who are far greater than you in every respect. Rabindranath Tagore. Harsh counsels have no effect. They are like hammers which are always repulsed by the anvil. Helvetius. Good counselors slack no clients. Shakespeare. Advice is like mushrooms. The wrong kind can prove fatal. Unknown. The greatest trust between man and man is the trust of giving counsel. Francis Bacon. Free advice is often overpriced. Unknown. Selected by James N. H. Kennedy. The second type focuses on the human side of organizing. Its roots are in behavioral sciences, and its doctrine is that whatever the client thinks and tells the consultant, there is always a human problem behind any organizational problem, whether technical or financial. Human problems can be understood and resolved in ways that motivate, energize, and empower people, and that make individuals and teams more effective in using their knowledge and experience. All other problems will be resolved, or at least their solution will be greatly facilitated. Organizational development and human resource development consultants are typical representatives of this second type. Their share in the whole consulting industry has been relatively small, but their influence has been out of proportion to their numbers. As distinct from the previous group, the behavioral scientists have been active not only in consult but also in writing extensively about their approaches and experiences. Most of the writing on consulting concepts and methodologies comes from this group, advice and assistance. Consulting is essentially an advisory service. This means that in principle, consultants are not used to run organizations or to take decisions on behalf of the managers. They have no direct authority to decide on to implement changes. The responsibilities for the quality and integrity of their advice. Their clients carry all the responsibilities that accrue from taking it. Of course, in the practice of consulting, there are many variations and degree of advice, not only to give the right advice, but to give it in the right way to the right people and at the right time. These are the critical skills and art of a consultant. Above all, the consultant's art consists in getting things done when you're not in charge. The client, in turn, needs to become skillful in taking and using the client's advice and avoiding misunderstanding on who is responsible for what. In explaining the nature of consulting, we also use the term help or assistance. To be useful to the client and help the client to achieve results, the consultant often needs to do more than give pure advice, that is, suggestions or recommendations that the client may choose to accept and apply or ignore. In current consulting practice, there is a general tendency to extend advice over the whole change cycle, that is, the client uses the consultant services for as long as necessary while implementing what the consultant has advised. Furthermore, in addition to advising clients, many consultants do other things that are closely related and complementary to their advisory roles, such as training, encouraging, and morally supporting the client, negotiating on behalf of the client, or performing certain activities in the client organization together with its staff. The term assistance can also cover services that are not consulting per se or at its best are on the borderline between consulting and other professional business services. Outsourcing provides a good example. Currently, many firms in management and information technology consulting also provide services such as information processing, bookkeeping, record keeping, marketing, selling, distribution, advertising, recruitment, research, and design on a long-term contract basis. The consultant's independence. Independence is a salient feature of consulting. A consultant must be in a position to make an unbiased assessment of any situation, tell the truth, and recommend frankly and objectively what the client organization needs to do without having any second thoughts on how this might affect the consultant's own interests. This detachment of the consultant has many facets and can be a tricky matter in certain cases. Technical independence means that the consultant is in a position to formulate a technical opinion and provide advice independently of what the client believes or uh, wishes to hear. Financial independence means that the consultant has no financial interest in the course of action taken by the client. Example, in a decision to invest in another company or to purchase a particular computer system, the desire is to get more business from the client in the future must not affect the objectivity of the advice provided in the current assignment. Administrative independence implies that the consultant is not the client's subordinate and cannot be affected by his or her administrative decisions. While this does not represent a problem to autonomous consulting organizations, it may be a rather complex, although not insurmountable, problem in internal consulting. Political independence means that neither the client organization's management nor its employees can influence the consulting using political power and connections, political party membership, club membership, and similar influences. Right? Emotional independence means that the consultant preserves personal detachment and objectivity, irrespective of empathy, friendship, mutual trust, emotional affinities, and other personal pressures that may exist at the beginning or develop in the course of an assignment. It could be argued that absolute independence is a fiction and that no professional advisor can claim to be totally independent from his or her client and from various interests and objectives pursued by the consulting firm. After all, consultants do depend on clients to get recruited, correctly paid for their work, used again after for their work, and recommended to other clients. Getting a great amount of work from one client tends to create independence on this client. Income from non-consulting services is very important to some consultants but may weaken independence. Conversely, clients have no legal obligation to use consultants and can choose them freely. They sometimes attach less importance to individual consultants' independence than to their technical competence and personal integrity. There are valid points and consultants cannot ignore them. Yet the beauty and strength of free professions is in independence. Sacrificing independence and objectivity for short-term benefits may be tempting, but risky and self-defeating from a long-term perspective. Consulting is a temporary service. Consulting is a temporary service. Clients turn to consultants for help to be provided over a limited period of time in areas where they lack technical expertise or where additional professional support is temporarily required. This may even mean areas where the requisite skills are available in the organization, but managers or staff specialists cannot be released for a major problem or a project. Consultants can not only provide the expertise required and give undivided 100% attention to the problem at hand, but will leave the organization once the job is completed. Even if the relationship is excellent and extends over a long period, the client always retains the right to discontinue it. Consulting is a business. A practitioner who does management consulting for a living has to charge a fee for all the work done for clients. Consulting firms are sellers of professional services and clients are buyers. In addition to being professional service organizations, consulting firms are also businesses. A consulting assignments must therefore be not only a technically justified active but also financially feasible and profitable commercial undertaking according to both the clients and the consultant's criteria. From the client's point of view, the benefits obtained should exceed the cost incurred, including the fee paid to the consultant and other costs to the client, such as staff time or the purchase of new computer program. From the consultant's point of view, consulting must be a profitable activity as measured by normally applied criteria. This will be examined in detail in part 4. In certain cases, the fee paid by the client will not cover the full cost of the consulting service received. Now, we shall see later. The consulting may be subsidized as a result of government economic policy or for other reason, which may be economic, commercial, political, or social. For instance, an institution may provide consulting in conjunction with training and subsidize it from the income earned from training. A not-for-profit social organization may provide consulting and counseling as a fully or partially subsidized service to potential entrepreneurs in underprivileged social groups or neglected regions. I have an example of this kind of consulting, which they are saying that they can get a subsidized service, or there is a kind of thing that has been actually happening in India. Also, there is a program which actually happens. So if you guys have any idea about that, so good for you. You're already a step ahead in consulting. So what should not be required from consulting? There is an abundance of case histories of successful assignments carried out by some of the world's best management consultancies in order to rescue companies facing bankruptcy or to give a new life to waiting firms. They have created a reputation that suggests that some consulting firms can resolve virtually any management difficulty. This is exaggerated. There are situations where nobody can help, and even if help is possible, it would be unrealistic and unfair to expect consultants to work miracles. Also, the consultant should never be expected to take a problem away from the client or to their own shoulders. Consultant's presence and intervention may provide considerable relief to a troubled client, but they will not liberate the client from inherent managerial responsibility for decisions and their consequences. If, as sometimes occurs, a consultant agrees to run a client's business and make decisions on his or her behalf, he or she stops being a consultant for that activity and period of time. As mentioned earlier, consulting does not have to be a full-time occupation if other professional criteria are met. It is not important whether the consultant is primary and for most of the time a business school professor, a researcher, a retired executive, or any other sort of worker. Also, if quality and independence are assured, consulting does not have to be in external service. Our definition: following this short discussion of the basic characteristics of management consulting, we offer the following definition. Management consulting is an independent professional advisory service assisting managers and organizations to achieve organizational purposes and objectives by solving management and business problems, identifying and seizing new opportunities, enhancing learning, and implementing changes. We have chosen a definition that omits certain characteristics that are not common to all consulting, such as external service or service for specially trained persons. Conversely, a definition includes the fundamental or generic purposes of consulting that are discussed in the next section. What are consulting's 5 generic purposes? Why are consultants used? 5 generic purposes. A manager may turn to a consultant if he or she perceives a need for help from an independent professional, feels like the consultant will be the right source for this help. But what sort of help are we talking about? What can be the purpose of using a consultant? Consulting purposes can be looked at from several angles and described in various ways. Let us look first at 5 broader generic purposes pursued by clients in using consultants, irrespective of the field of intervention and specific intervention methods used. Achieving organizational purposes and objectives, solving management and business problems, identifying and seizing new opportunities, enhancing learning, implementing changes. So this is a kind of generic consulting purpose. Achieving organizational purpose and objective, and below that, big goal is solving management and business problems, identifying and seizing new opportunities, enhancing learning, implementing changes, which actually makes a proper goal and purpose of objective of an organization to be achieved. So all consulting to management and business tends to pursue a general overriding purpose of helping clients to achieve their business, social, or other goals. like big goals that they have. So these goals may be defined in various ways: sectoral leadership or competitive advantage, customer satisfaction, achieving total quality or productivity, corporate excellence, high performance, profitability, improved business results, effectiveness, growth, etc. Different concepts and terms reflect the thinking and the priorities of both clients and consultants. The current state of the art of management and consulting and even fashion, different purposes will be stressed in commercial enterprises, public services, and social organizations. Can you just wait a second? Just a second. Just
Management consulting.
So I hope, guys, this is going to be clear to you now, and you'll be hearing it more clearly. I hope you really listen it clearly now. So we are starting from where we left off, achieving organizational purposes and objectives. So let's start.
Achieving organizational purposes and objectives. All consulting to management and business tends to pursue a general and overriding purpose of helping clients to achieve their business, social, or other goals. These goals may be defined in various ways: sectoral leadership, competitive advantage, customer satisfaction, achieving total quality or productivity, corporate excellence, high performance, profitability, improved. Profitability, improved business results, effectiveness, growth, etc. Different concepts and terms reflect the thinking and the priorities of both clients and consultants, the current state of the art of management and consulting, and even fashion. Different purposes will be stressed in commercial enterprises, public services, and social organizations. The time horizon of a consultancy will differ from case to case. Yet the common denominator remains the same: consulting has to add value to the client organization, and this value should be a tangible and measurable contribution to achieving the client's principal purposes. 11. Management consulting. This global purpose of management consulting provides a rationale and a sense of direction for all consulting work. What would be the sense of organizational learning or costly and risky restructuring if the client organization could not get closer to its principal goals? What would be the use of successfully solving a few seemingly pressing management problems if, like the mythological hydra that grows two heads for every one cut off, the solutions we develop are often rapidly overwhelmed by a plethora of new problems? 8. The purpose of achieving the client organization's goals assumes that the client has defined such goals. In some organizations this is not the case, and management operates without any perspective, goal, or sense of mission. The consultant's main contribution may well be in helping the client to develop a vision of the future, set ambitious but realistic goals, develop a strategy, focus on results, and start viewing current problems and opportunities in the light of longer-term and more fundamental organizational goals. Consultants must appreciate that client organizations may be pursuing different sorts of goals. At times, the objective of a consultancy may be to advise the client on how to maintain the status quo or even how to get out of business. Solving management and business problems. Helping managers and other decision makers with problem solving is probably the most frequently mentioned purpose of consulting. The consultant's task is described as professional assistance in identifying, diagnosing, and solving problems concerning various areas and aspects of management and business. Within a business firm, a problem justifying the use of a consultant can result from any of the following, and readers can undoubtedly think of many other causes. Complaining clients, high staff turnover, poor business results, unrealistic self-image, unexpected loss, lack of cash, natural disaster, idle resources, loss of important market, pressure of competition, lack of perspective, failure to meet targets, obsolete control system, lack of self-confidence, wrong investment choice, excess of self-confidence, missed opportunity, slowness of action, reluctance to change, internal conflicts. The reader should be aware of the different uses of the term problem and of their practical implications. If problem is used to mean only mistake, failure, shortcoming, or missed opportunity, the client's and the consultant's perspective will tend to be essentially backward-looking and narrow, and the focus will be on corrective action, with implied criticism and determination of responsibilities. The term problem can also be used as a more general concept to describe a situation where there is a difference or discrepancy between what is actually 12. Nature and purpose of management consulting. Happening or will be happening and what should be happening.
Just a minute, guys. Hi guys, so we are starting again. Okay.
This definition, a problem is described in relative terms, i.e. as a difference between two situations. In addition, someone has to be concerned about this difference and aim to overcome or reduce it. The problem must belong to someone, there must be a problem owner. Frequently the current situation of the client organization is compared with the situation that existed in the past. If there has been a deterioration such as falling sales or profits, the problem is defined as a need to restore the original condition. This explains why consultants are sometimes called troubleshooters, company doctors, or business healers. Alternatively, the current situation may be compared with some standard, benchmark. The problem is then defined as the need to meet or surpass the standard, e.g. a competitor's product quality, range of models offered, or after-sales service. In this sense, even a successful and forward-looking company that has been pursuing and achieving ambitious business objectives may have problems, a desire to further enhance its competitive advantage, to become a sector leader, not to miss a new marketing opportunity, to identify a new business partner, to explore an emerging technology, and so on. In this guide, the term problem will be used in the second way, as a generic term describing a client's dissatisfaction with the difference between any comparable, but mainly between existing and desirable, situations in the organization. Thus, some of the problems will be related to past errors and shortcomings that need to be redressed. Many others will concern perspectives, opportunities, and strategies for improving the business in the future. A correct definition of the problem to be resolved, and the purpose to be achieved by the consultancy, is critical. Experienced consultants warn against accepting the client's perception of the problem at face value. If the problem has been wrongly defined or misjudged, the consultant will be caught in a trap. He or she will then work on the wrong problem, or the problem and potential benefits from its solution may not justify the consultant's intervention and the costs incurred. To avoid this, most consultants insist on making their own independent assessment of the problem presented to them by the client, and on developing an agreed definition in discussion and collaboration with the client. The purpose of the consultant's intervention provides a perspective for dealing with particular problems. See box 1.2. It could be argued that the purpose is to solve the client's problem, but this provides little insight. It has been observed that effective leaders and problem solvers always placed every problem into a larger context. Point 9. This implies getting answers to a number of questions about the purposes of the client organization and its key constituents, the focus and the significance of the proposed assignment, and the immediate and ultimate benefits to be obtained by the client if the current problem is resolved. In this way, it will be possible to select the focus purpose 10, avoiding purposes that are too narrow, as well as those that are too wide and distant to be tackled by the client at present. However, these wider and longer term purposes ought to be kept in mind in order. 13. Management consulting. Box 1.2 define to place the client's problem in a proper time perspective and seek solutions that will not block the path to the future. Consulting that is confined to corrective measures, aimed at restoring a past situation or attaining a standard already met by other organizations, may produce significant and urgently needed benefits. A crisis may be avoided, negative developments may be arrested, and the client's business may survive. Yet merely ensuring a return to a previously existing situation or catching up with competition gives the client no competitive advantage, and little additional competence or strength for coping with new situations and achieving superior performance in the future. Identifying and seizing new opportunities. Box 1.2 define the purpose, not the problem. The way consultants define a problem is critical to the quality of the solution. If they define the problem in terms of its origin or cause, they tend to focus on who or what is to blame. This is likely to be a fruitless exercise and can actually get in the way of finding the best solution. It can also discourage staff from taking initiative in order to avoid being blamed in the future. Rather, management consultants can achieve breakthroughs for their clients by focusing on a series of incrementally larger purposes to be achieved. Narrow consulting approaches, focusing on the problem, starting with data collection, copying others, taking the first solution that can be made to work, failing to involve others, create problems of their own. These approaches lead to excess costs and time, early obsolescence of solutions, wasted resources, and repetition of work in the consulting process. Breakthrough thinking provides a more effective approach. It is not a step-by-step process but involves 7 ways of thinking about problems and their solutions, based on the following principles. 1. The uniqueness principle. Whatever the apparent similarities, each problem is unique and requires an approach based on the particular context. 2. The purposes principle. Focusing on expanding purposes helps strip away non-essential aspects and avoid working on the wrong problem. 3. The solution after next principle. Innovation can be stimulated and solutions made more effective by working backwards from an ideal target solution. Having a target solution in the future gives direction to short-term solutions and infuses them with larger purposes. 4. The systems principle. Every problem is part of a larger system of problems, and solving one problem inevitably leads to another. Having a clear framework of the elements and dimensions that comprise a solution ensures its workability and facilitates implementation. 5. The limited information collection principle. Excessive data gathering may create expertise in the problem area, but knowing too much detail may prevent the discovery of some excellent alternative solutions. Always determine the expanded purposes of any proposed information collection before doing it. 6. The people design principle. Those who will implement and use the solution should be intimately and continuously involved in its development by being involved in the first 5 principles. Also, in designing a solution to be implemented by other people, include only the critical details in order to allow some flexibility during its application. 7. The betterment timeline principle. The only way to preserve the vitality of a solution is to build in and then monitor a program of continual change to achieve larger purposes and move towards target solutions. Author, E. Michael Shays. A detailed discussion can be found in D. Nadler and S. Hibino, Breakthrough Thinking, The 7 Principles of Creative Problem Solving, Rockland C.A., Identifying and Seizing New Opportunities. Most consultants feel that they can offer much more than simply helping organizations to get out of difficulties. This has been recognized by many business corporations and other organizations that are well managed, successful and ambitious. While they may at times call on a consultant to track back deviations that have taken place, and find and correct the reasons for them, they usually prefer to use consultants for identifying and taking new opportunities. They regard consulting firms as a source of valuable information and ideas that can be turned into a wide range of initiatives, innovations, and improvements in any area or function of business, developing new markets and products, assessing and using state-of-the-art technologies, improving quality, becoming more useful to customers, developing and motivating staff, optimizing the use of financial resources, finding new business contacts and contracts, and so on. Experience shows that even strong and important corporations have developed many ideas for action and have seized major business opportunities with the help of consultants. Consulting in e-commerce and e-business is a case in point. Its purpose has not usually been to solve existing problems, but to help clients to see and take major new opportunities that can be exploited by adopting new approaches to doing business. Enhancing learning. The only work that is really worth doing as a consultant is that which educates, which teaches clients and their staff to manage better for themselves, said Lyndon Urwick, one of the main contributors to the development of professional management consulting. In the modern concept of consulting, this dimension is omnipresent. Many clients turn to consultants, not only to find a solution to one distinct problem, but also to acquire the consultant's special technical knowledge, e.g. in environmental analysis, business restructuring or quality management, and the methods used in assessing organizations, identifying problems and opportunities, developing improvements and implementing changes, interviewing, diagnosis, communication, persuasion, feedback, evaluation, and similar skills. 15. Management consulting. Consulting assignments become learning assignments. The purpose is to empower the client by bringing new competence into the organization and helping managers and staff to learn from their own and the consultant's experience. It is often stressed that in this way organizations are helped to help themselves and become learning organizations. As already mentioned, this is a two-way exchange, since by helping clients to learn from experience, a management consultant enhances his or her own knowledge and competence. The learning effect of consulting is probably the most important and durable one. The choice of the consulting methods and the degree of the client's involvement can increase or reduce this effect. We shall, therefore, pay considerable attention to these questions in our guide. Implementing changes. Change agent is another label frequently given to consultants. They are proud to be referred to in this way since this is a reflection of another general purpose of consulting, helping client organizations to understand change, live with change and make changes needed to survive and be successful in an environment where continuous change is the only constant. The importance of this consulting purpose has considerably increased in the current period owing to the complexity and pace of environmental changes, the need to keep informed about changes that may affect the organization and to think constantly of possible implications, the speed with which organizations have to adapt, and the increased demands on people's flexibility and ability to cope with change. 1.3 How are consultants used? 10 principal ways. In pursuing the generic purposes outlined in the previous section, consultants can intervene in many different ways. Both clients and consultants can choose among so many alternatives that trying to give an exhaustive and complete picture of these alternatives would be an impossible task. However, most of the consulting assistance to management will be given in one or more of the following 10 ways. Providing information. Providing specialist resources. Establishing business contacts and linkages. Providing expert opinion. Doing diagnostic work. Developing action proposals. Developing systems and methods. Planning and managing organizational changes. Training and developing management and staff. Counseling and coaching. 16 Nature and purpose of management consulting. Providing information. Better, more complete, and more relevant information is often the main or only thing that a client needs to make the right decision. It may be information on markets, customers, sector trends, raw materials, suppliers, competitors, potential partners, sources of engineering expertise, government policies and regulations, or other. The consulting firm may have this information in its files, or know where and how to find it. Information gathering and analysis may be the only or the main objective of an assignment. Finally, any consulting assignment will have an information dimension and function. There is no consulting that does not involve working with and providing information. In providing information, a delicate question of confidentiality may be faced. Consultants have to distinguish between information that can be provided to a client because it is publicly available or has been gathered and developed specifically for that client, and information developed for previous clients or obtained from private sources, which may need to be treated as confidential. Providing specialist resources. A consultant can be used to supplement the client organization's staff. Usually such consultants will be specialists in areas where the client is looking for short-term expertise, or wants to avoid recruiting a new employee. Some clients, mainly in the public sector, use consultants in this way to bypass restrictive regulations preventing them from recruiting new staff or to avoid keeping expensive specialists on the payroll. Other clients may have been forced to cut down their technical departments and find it convenient to recruit short-term specialists from consulting. A special case is interim management. Recently, this way of using consultants has become more widespread, and some client firms may borrow staff members of consulting firms to occupy a position in their management hierarchy on a temporary, establishing business contacts and linkages. Many clients turn to consultants in their search for new business contacts, agents, representatives, suppliers, subcontractors, joint venture and merger partners, companies for acquisition, business and professional networks, sources of funding, additional investors, and so forth. The consultant's task may involve identifying one or more suitable candidates, people or organizations, presenting their names to the client, assessing their suitability, recommending a choice, defining and negotiating conditions of an alliance or business deal, and acting as intermediary in implementation. Often these contacts will be in sectors or countries not sufficiently known to the client. Providing expert opinion. Various activities fall under this heading. The consultant may be approached to provide expert opinion in cases where the client can choose among several alternatives and seeks impartial and independent third-party advice before taking the decision. Consultants may be invited to act as an expert witness, testifying expert, in lawsuits or arbitrations calling for specialized knowledge. Conversely, expert opinion can be provided in a totally informal way. This is the case when decision-makers use consultants as a sounding board without asking for a formal report. It should be stressed that any consultancy involving assessment and choice will engage the consultant's expert opinion, in particular if management decisions risk being affected by shortage of information, company myopia, lack of expertise, emotions, or vested interests. Doing diagnostic work. Diagnostic skills and instruments are among the consultant's principal assets. Clients use consultants for a wide range of diagnostic tasks concerning the organization's strengths and weaknesses, positive and negative trends, potential for improvement, barriers to change, competitive position, underutilized resources, technical or human problems requiring management's attention, and so on. Diagnostic work may concern the entire business or a part, a department, sector, function, process, product line, information system, organizational structure, or other. Developing action proposals. Effectively completed diagnostic work may be followed by the development of specific action proposals in an area that was diagnosed. The consultant may be asked to do the whole job, share the task with the client, or act as an advisor to a client who has chosen to develop new proposals with his or her own resources. Action proposals may involve one or more alternatives. Also, the consultant may be asked to present alternatives with or without recommendations on the course of action to be taken by the client. Developing systems and methods. A major portion of all consulting services concerns systems and methods in areas such as management information, business planning, operations scheduling and control, business process integration and management, inventory control, client order processing, sales, personnel records, compensation, and social benefits. Traditionally, many consulting firms have developed one or more of these areas as special lines of expertise. The systems may be custom-made or standard. The consultant may take full responsibility for choosing the most appropriate system, establishing its feasibility, adapting it to the client's conditions, and putting it into effect in collaboration with the client's staff. Alternatively, clients may play a more active role in developing and adapting the system with the consultant's support. Many organizations prefer to retain the consultant until the system has been debugged, becomes operational, and achieves the promised performance. In today's consulting, most of the systems provided are computerized, and their development, design, and application require a combination of management and information technology consulting. A great amount of new systems development and installation is in the fields of e-commerce and e-business, planning and managing organizational changes. A fairly common case is that of a client who possesses the technical and managerial expertise to run the organization, but has difficulties and feels insecure when organizational changes are anticipated and cannot be avoided. Often these changes will put a lot of strain on people, since deeply rooted relationships, work habits, and individual or group interests will be affected. In such situations, the special expertise sought from a consultant would be in change management, in identifying the need for change, developing a change strategy and plan, choosing and applying the right approaches to encourage change and overcome barriers to change, monitoring the change process, evaluating the progress made and results obtained, and adjusting the approach taken by management at all stages of the change cycle. Box 1.3. Should consultants justify management decisions? From time to time, consultants may be approached with a request to undertake assignments and submit reports so that a manager can justify a decision by referring to an external consultant's recommendations. In other words, a manager may have determined his or her aims and have reached a personal decision, but wants to be able to say that he or she is putting into effect suggestions made or endorsed by an independent and respected professional advisor. This can turn out to be another straightforward and correct case of providing expert opinion. It can also be a trap. A consultant who accepts such an assignment may be pulled into the hidden and intricate world of in-company politics. His or her report will have a political role in addition to the technical message it carries. This role may be constructive and useful if a manager is facing strong resistance to changes that are inevitable, and needs to refer to the consultant's authority. It can also happen that a consultant produces a report that will be misused for promoting vested individual or group interests. Independent and impartial assessment of every situation will help the consultant to avoid being used as a scapegoat. The consultant may provide expertise and advice both on specific methods and techniques that are being changed, and on how to deal with interpersonal relations, conflicts, motivation, team building, and other issues in the organizational and human behavior field. The weight given to behavioral skills will be greater in assignments where change will put a lot of strain on people. Resistance to change can be expected, and management feels that its own change management skills are inadequate. In addition to behavioral skills, which are sometimes referred to as soft skills, the consultant may also provide help in the hard skills area: effective scheduling of change, sequencing, coordination, redefining structures, responsibilities and relationships, reallocating resources, adjusting recording and control systems, preventing gaps and disorder caused by poor monitoring of change operations, ensuring smooth transition from old to new work arrangements, costing the project and measuring the results, etc. Training and developing management and staff. While learning is a general purpose inherent in all consulting, training and development of managers or staff may be a distinct client service provided separately or in conjunction with and in support of other services. The client and his or her staff will need to be trained in the new methods and techniques provided by the consultant, so that they become autonomous in using and improving them. There are many ways in which diagnosis, advice, systems development, and training can be combined in consulting practice. Training can be an alternative to the interventions and ways of using consultants described above. Rather than asking a consultant to work on a specific diagnostic, problem-solving, or change management assignment, the client may prefer the consultant to prepare and conduct a course or a workshop for managers and/or staff on the subject. For example, instead of requesting the consultant to identify specific productivity improvement measures and present a productivity improvement program, he or she may be asked to organize a set of workshops on productivity diagnosis and improvement, counseling and coaching. Management consultants can render an excellent service to managers and entrepreneurs who need strictly personal feedback and relaxed, friendly advice on their leadership style, behavior, work habits, relations with colleagues, weaknesses that could be damaging to the business, such as the reluctance to make decisions or the failure to seek the advice of collaborators, and personal qualities that need to be well utilized. Personal counseling is necessarily a one-to-one relationship based on trust and respect. It can be informal and should be fully confidential. Coaching, or executive coaching, pursues similar purposes. See Section 3.7. Despite its obvious potential, few consultants offer such a service to clients and few clients ask for it. 1.4 The consulting process. An overview. During a typical consulting intervention, the consultant and the client undertake a set of activities required for achieving the desired purposes and changes. These activities are normally known as the consulting process. This process has a clear beginning, the relationship is established and work starts, and end, the consultant departs. Between these 2 points, the process can be subdivided into several phases, which helps both the consultant and the client to be systematic and methodical, proceeding from phase to phase, and from operation to operation. Many different ways of subdividing the consulting process, or cycle, into major phases can be found in the literature. Various authors suggest models ranging from 3 to 10 phases. Point 11. We have chosen a simple 5-phase model, comprising entry, diagnosis, action planning, implementation, and termination. This model, shown in Figure 1.2, will be used consistently in our book. Obviously, Figure 1.2 phases of the consulting. A universal model cannot be applied blindly to all situations, but it provides a good framework for explaining what consultants actually do and for structuring and planning particular assignments and projects. When applying the model to a concrete situation, it is possible to omit one or more phases or let some phases overlap.
So they've given the phases of consulting process, which first says the entry, first contacts with clients, preliminary problem diagnosis, assignment planning, assignment proposals to client, consulting contract. Second is the diagnosis, purpose analysis, problem analysis, fact finding, fact analysis and synthesis, feedback to client, action planning, developing solutions, evaluating alternatives, proposals to client, planning for implementation. Then the implementation phase, assisting with implementation, adjusting proposals or training, termination, evaluation, final report, setting commitments, plans for follow-up, and next is withdrawal, finally.
When applying the model to a concrete situation, it is possible to omit one or more phases or let some phases overlap, e.g. implementation may start before action planning is completed, or a detailed diagnosis may not be necessary or can be integrated with the development of proposals. It may be useful to work backwards from a later to an earlier stage. Thus, evaluation can serve not only for a final assessment of the results of the assignment and of benefits drawn from change, termination phase, but also for deciding whether to move back and take a different approach. Every phase can be broken down into several subphases or parallel activities. The whole model has to be applied flexibly and with a great deal of imagination. The consulting process can be viewed as a variant of the change process, Chapter 4, one in which change is planned, managed, and implemented with the consultant's help. The reader may have seen various models of planned organizational change and may be interested in comparing them with the model in Figure 1.2. The consulting process will be examined in detail in Chapters 7 to 11, but at this point it will be helpful to have short descriptions of its 5 basic phases. Entry. In the entry phase, the consultant starts working with the client. This phase includes their first contacts, discussions on what the client would like to achieve or change in his or her organization and how the consultant might help, the clarification of their respective roles, the preparation of an assignment plan based on preliminary problem analysis, and the negotiation and agreement of a consulting contract. This is a preparatory and planning phase. It is often emphasized that this phase lays the foundations for everything that will follow, since the subsequent phases will be strongly influenced by the quality of conceptual work done, and by the kind of relationship that the consultant establishes with the client at the very beginning. In this initial phase, it can also happen that an assignment proposal is not prepared to the client's satisfaction and no contract is agreed, or that several consultants are contacted and invited to present proposals but only one of them is selected for the assignment. Diagnosis. The second phase is an in-depth diagnosis of the problem to be solved. During this phase, the consultant and the client cooperate in identifying the sort of change required, defining in detail the purposes to be achieved by the assignment, and assessing the client's performance, resources, needs and perspectives. Is the fundamental change problem technological, organizational, informational, psychological, or other? If it has all these dimensions, which is the crucial one? What attitudes to change prevail in the organization? Is the need for change appreciated, or will it be necessary to persuade people that they will have to change? The results of the diagnostic phase are synthesized and conclusions drawn on how to orient work on action proposals so that the real problems are resolved and the desired purposes achieved. Some possible solutions may start emerging during this phase. Fact-finding and fact diagnosis often receive the least attention, yet decisions on what data to look for, what data to omit, what aspects of the problem to examine in depth and what facts to skip predetermine the relevance and quality of the solutions that will be proposed. Also, by collecting data and talking to people, the consultant is already in implementation. Implementation, the fourth phase of the consulting process, provides an acid test for the relevance and feasibility of the proposals developed by the consultant in collaboration with the client. The changes proposed start turning into reality. Things begin happening, either as planned or differently. Unforeseen new problems and obstacles may arise and false assumptions or planning errors may be uncovered. Resistance to change may be quite different from what was assumed at the diagnostic and planning stages. The original design and action plan may need to be corrected. As it is not possible to foresee exactly and in detail every relationship, event, or attitude, and the reality of implementation often differs from the plan, monitoring and managing implementation are very important. This is also why professional consultants prefer to be associated with the implementation of changes that they have helped to identify and plan. This is an issue over which there has been much misunderstanding. Many consulting assignments end when a report with action proposals is transmitted, i.e. before implementation starts. Probably not more than 30 to 50% of consulting assignments include implementation. If the client is fully capable of handling any phase of the change process alone, and is keen to do it, there is no reason why he or she should continue to use a consultant. The consultant may leave as early as after the diagnostic phase. Unfortunately, the decision to terminate an assignment after the diagnostic or action planning phase often does not reflect the client's assessment of his or her own capabilities and determination to implement the proposals without any further help from the consultant. Rather, it mirrors a widespread conception, or misconception, of consulting according to which consultants do not have to achieve more than getting their reports and proposals accepted by the clients. Some clients choose it because they do not really understand that even an excellent report cannot provide a guarantee that a new scheme will actually work and the promised results will be attained. Other clients may be happy because what they really wanted was a report, not change. Termination. The fifth and final phase in the consulting process includes several activities. The consultant's performance during the assignment, the approach taken, the changes made and the results achieved have to be evaluated by both the client and the consulting firm. Final reports are presented and discussed. Mutual commitments are settled. If there is an interest in pursuing the collaborative relationship, an agreement on follow-up and future contacts may be negotiated. Once these activities are completed, the consulting assignment or project is terminated by mutual agreement and the consultant withdraws from the client organization. A consulting assignment. In practice, the 5 stages of the consulting process are usually structured, organized, and implemented through particular and separate consulting assignments, also called engagements, cases, consultancies, projects, or client accounts. In a typical assignment, the consultant and the client agree on the scope of the job to be done, the purposes, objectives, results, to be achieved, the expertise to be provided by the consultant, the nature and sequence of tasks to be undertaken by the consultant, the client's participation in the assignment, the resources required, the timetable, the price to be paid, other conditions as appropriate. This agreement is confirmed in a consulting contract, which is written in most cases, but can be verbal. Section 7.6. The contract will determine the phases of the consulting process that will be covered by the assignment, e.g. the assignment will be completed when an analytical report has been submitted to the client. Alternatives to separate consulting assignments. An alternative to an assignment covering a distinct task or set of tasks and period of time is a retainer. Under a retainer contract, the client purchases in advance a certain amount of the consultant's time. The nature and purpose of the work to be done are defined in general terms only and will be specified at the beginning of each period covered by the contract. Collaboration extends over a longer period of time, using a cost-effective format. For example, the client may use the consultant's services for 2 days during the first week of every month to review jointly the general situation of the business, the problems and opportunities that have developed and the key decisions that will have to be taken. Or the agreement may define a more or less regular task for the consultant, e.g. assisting management in preparing board meetings, without specifying in advance the time to be spent. There are various types of retainer arrangement, but from a technical viewpoint 2 types tend to prevail. A generalist retainer, under which the consultant follows global results and trends of the client's business, looking for opportunities for improvement in various areas and feeding the client with new information and ideas. A specialist retainer, providing the client with a permanent flow of technical information and suggestions in an area where the consulting firm is particularly competent and advanced, e.g. computer systems, quality management, international financial operations, identification of new markets. Another alternative used in some technical assistance programs is a framework contract. Point 12. In this case, the consultant is contracted for a certain kind of services over a period of time. Within this framework agreement, specific assignments or missions are requested by the client and agreed upon case by case according to established rules, such as fee rates or consultant profiles, applicable to the whole contract. The negotiation and contracting procedure is thus simplified and accelerated. There are various other modes of purchasing consultant services for longer periods without defining specific assignments and repeating each time all the phases of a consulting cycle as described above. Consultants may be permanent members of various committees or boards, special advisors to top managers, observers, and advisors in management and board meetings, training faculty members and examiners, informal advisors acting as sources of new ideas and sounding boards, or personal counselors. Sophisticated clients tend increasingly to use these flexible and often more cost-effective formulas. 1.5 Evolving concepts and scope of management consulting. It is important to be aware of some dilemmas in the nature and purpose of management consulting and to understand how they are reflected in evolving consulting concepts and practices. Advice or results. We have shown that consultants are advisors and remain in this position except when they are recruited by clients to become temporary members of staff. Advisors have no authority to make decisions about a client's business and their influence has limits. The assignment may be too short and understaffed to produce tangible results. The client may be unwilling to follow the advice given. Staff may not collaborate or their resistance and inertia may be too strong, or the consultant may be unavailable for follow-up and debugging. Even the soundest advice alone cannot provide absolute assurance that there will be tangible, measurable, and sustainable results. There is therefore a growing tendency to use consultants for more than providing advice. Advice tends to be defined more and more loosely and liberally, and consultants are increasingly viewed as assistants, helpers, service providers, or even service brokers who work with clients on various issues for as long as necessary to make sure that tangible and measurable results are achieved. Also, consultant remuneration tends to be increasingly related to results, rather than to time spent on providing advice. Clients would be wise not to get bogged down in vaguely defined time-based assignments with unclear consultant responsibilities and uncertain results. In large and expensive projects, which are often focused on management systems and information technology, clients need to have safeguards against escalating costs, low reliability, and failure to meet set parameters and promised performances. Consultants may be offered roles and positions likely to increase their impact on results or to give them more authority and responsibility for achieving certain results in client organizations. New ways of remunerating consultants have become widespread, including equity and stock options. See chapters 30 and 36. In this way, the consultant is clearly accepting to be dependent on the wider and longer-term business results and prosperity of the client, sometimes even beyond the scope of improvements that can be attributed to the consultant's intervention. Management consulting, business consulting, or any consulting. Traditionally, the scope of the services offered by management consultants was confined to functions, subjects, and problems regarded as part of management. 26 Nature and purpose of management consulting. Although the scope of management has never been fully and accurately defined, management consultants were keen to stick to their business and maintain their identity, and most of them were not particularly seeking to broaden their services and explore new territory. Over recent decades, this attitude has changed dramatically, and in several directions, both in management consulting and in other professional services. Management consultants have started to rethink and redefine their business, widening and enhancing their service offerings, merging or establishing alliances with other consultants and professional service firms, and abandoning self-imposed restrictions on the sort of work they are prepared to undertake. These changes have been triggered by a number of factors, including the growing complexity and sophistication of doing business in national and international environments, market deregulation and liberalization, new opportunities for innovative consulting, growing demand for integrated and one-stop professional services, competitive pressure coming from other professions, and, above all, the advancement of information technologies and their rapid penetration into management and business processes. In using consulting and other professional services, the clients are asking what will add value to my business, and the service providers must inevitably adopt the same perspective. In this new environment, some consultants have felt the need to stress that their field of activity is no longer management consulting, narrowly and rigidly defined, but business consulting, a wider concept and service portfolio, or consulting to management, consulting to business, or organizational consulting, more open concepts permitting the service portfolio to be easily adjusted as opportunities and demands change. Consulting coupled with other business. The information technology giant IBM is often mentioned as a pioneer of a new approach, where management and business consulting is provided by a manufacturer, a software house, an investment bank, or another business entity. Traditionally a leading supplier of office and computer hardware, IBM decided in the early 1990s to position itself as a provider of systems and services to clients. This included management consulting alongside IT services. IBM thus became the first large manufacturer and IT service provider with important management consulting services. In 2000, IBM had 50,000 consultants on its payroll and was one of the largest consulting firms in the world. Many other firms in manufacturing, utilities, finance, or professional services have adopted a similar strategy and have included integrated management and business consulting, often called management services, in their offer to clients, with considerable success. The reasons for the success are similar to those mentioned above. Clients that choose these service providers are seeking a complete, integrated and first-hand service in combination with know-how about the latest technology and the sector in general. They may be less concerned about independence and potential conflict of interest, e.g. if a consultant quite naturally suggests software or hardware made by his or her employer, or if a consultant coming from the same industry sector is in some way related to the client's competitors in the sector. Commoditization. Commoditization is a common trend in professional services and is currently very pronounced in management, business, and IT services. Rather than identifying needs, devising a solution and implementing a new and tailor-made system for every client, a consulting firm has a range of products that are offered to all clients, or categories of clients. Advice and know-how are turned into a commodity. The client can choose among standard offerings off the shelf, diagnostic instruments, change and project management programs, training and self-development packages, production control systems, enterprise resource planning, ERP, or customer relationship management, CRM, systems, e-business, or knowledge management software, and so on. These products may be the result of the consultant firm's own research and development and based on its own work experience, or the consultant may have acquired the product from another firm, or be distributing and using it under a licensing agreement. Commoditization of methods and systems is currently a feature of knowledge management and transfer. It responds to demands from clients who want to get the best, or at least a good and easily applicable, system, methodology, or approach at an affordable price, within reasonable time limits, and with a guarantee of applicability and standard performance. This is what the commoditized professional services aim to provide. Conversely, the client accepts that the solution will not be unique, may have features that he or she does not need, and will be quite widely used, hence also by competitors. Indeed, most commoditized products cannot provide any distinct competitive advantage. Rather, the risk is that a client will be disadvantaged by not following the trend and not buying a product that has become commonly used by his or her competitors. Professional service providers who have commoditized their knowledge enjoy an enormous business advantage. If the product is in demand and sells well, they can serve large numbers of clients. Clients who would not consider buying a tailor-made solution for their organization may easily become interested in a standard product. Instead of using experienced and highly competent consultants for each assignment, the consulting firm can develop standard procedures for delivering standard products, and hence use more junior and less experienced staff, and cut the price. The spectacular growth of IT and e-business consultancies, discussed in Chapter 2, would not have been possible without considerable service standardization and commoditization. Outsourcing. Outsourced services are activities that the client previously carried out within its normal structure and resources, but now chooses to contract out to a consultant or another service provider. By branching out into new service areas, management consultants behave in the same way as other professions do, looking for new markets and opportunities and aiming to satisfy their clients' demand for new, innovative, and complementary services. The factors that may influence them in deciding to enter other fields of business service are: benefit to clients. Will the client appreciate such a service, and will the service be really helpful to the client? Technical. Do we have the technical capacity, and will the new service be synergetic with what we are already doing for the client? Legal. Does legalization allow a new service to be combined with the consultant's current service portfolio within the same organization? Ethical. Is it appropriate for a management consultant to operate such a service, and will no conflict of interest or other ethical problem arise? Commercial. Is the new service profitable and a potential source of future income? Outsourcing has been transforming the shape of the consulting sector. It has been greatly facilitated and boosted by the new information and telecommunication technologies, which permit software and application service providers to be accessed via the internet. More and more business and management processes and functions are regarded as suitable for outsourcing, and many developments in IT focus on enlarging the scope and enhancing the efficiency of outsourcing. These developments cover issues such as reliability, confidentiality, speed of data transfer, worldwide access to business information, etc. In addition to the direct provision of outsourced services, new opportunities for consultants are created by the need to select and evaluate systems and providers of outsourcing, identify and modernize processes to be outsourced, assist with organizational and other changes connected with outsourcing, manage and control outsourced services, integrate services outsourced to different providers, etc. In larger IT and management consulting firms, outsourcing has become the fastest growing area of service and an indispensable source of stable and long-term income. This reflects the fact that the consulting firm may be better equipped to carry out certain activities, which it can perform more efficiently and economically than the client while keeping up to date with advances in the field. It also reflects new ways of doing business and managing knowledge, in which clients focus on their core business and use intellectual capital and financial resources in areas of their principal strength. 1F Steele.
So guys, this was this was the first chapter of this book. So this book is actually really long, and we just covered 54 chapters, 54 pages, and this book is actually 927 pages long. So it's going to be, I will try to most, like, to cover most of this book, but right now it's currently actually really late, so I have to stop it at first chapter. I'll continue this book for you guys in my later streams, so please tune in for all the, streams related to this chapter. I'll tag you along. All right.